Hi, welcome. In this video, I once again want to go through and respond to some of the comments being received from some of these mainstream dog trainers on social media. And again, just to help people understand just the current state of the dog training world. Again, I put out very specific information regarding what defines training, okay? And for those, okay, who are asking the questions, who are open-minded, who are able to see beyond appearances, who are applying some the criteria I talk about in terms of what represents defines a process. For those who are doing that, this system of training offers real hope. It offers a real picture of change, and it provides answers. However, okay, for those who's not are not aligned, okay, who are have already come into agreement, okay, with this lie, okay, what training is, who are again, I talk about suffering from a type of identity crisis, who are turned over to this stuff. The information I put out is will be a offense, okay, and you see it. They get these people are very triggered, very upset, a lot of just personal attacks. But again, this is where my encouragement, those who are looking around the dog training world, my kind of cautionary tale here is don't do what these trainers have done. Okay, don't just take this corrupted, flawed idea and run with it. Okay, take the time as an individual to ask the questions. And your default setting, okay, is your I talk about the train, right? Now, the train is barreling down the tracks, is like pull that cord, get off the train, and first stop and actually take a look around the dog training community. Look at all the controversies. Just did a video about Kevin Murdoch, and House put a couple of videos out about that, saying big deal. Like, who cares about the controversies? They don't mean anything that way. Well, for someone that's already right has crossed lines and decided to identify, because understand, when you identify as a balanced trainer, as a force-free trainer, as a play-based, drive-based trainer, once you do that, you've already kind of hemmed yourself in. You've signed a contract, say this is how I'm going to do it. My playbook. This is how I'm going to engage, and all the stuff that goes along with that. Okay, understand that therefore that to back out of that. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about, these trainers who go on and on and on. Understand that all the negativity, all the being upset part, it's all coming from the already established dog training community. These are individuals who did that. I didn't do that. Okay, I always say that. It's like you have to put things into perspective here. I did not do that. I did not just of course you always have to start somewhere, and so of course it started within the parameters of learning. I did. I mean, you got to start somewhere, but as you move forward, you should be able to look around and say there's something wrong here. My starting point was over into the police canine side of things. Okay, so when I talk about where I started, I in terms of the relationship side of things with Ruben, my first police dog, it brought me to a place, okay, in that relationship where I started looking and say there's more going on here. Okay, there's something deeper with dogs that makes them truly amazing. There's a connection level here. That goes beyond just appearances. And appearances are a problem. Appearances are, what's going on here at the surface in what trainers have dialed into and what they're focused on. There's something very wrong in that. Like, people are struggling, failing. Like, is it just about appearances that way? What's the role of devices? So all those things, coming to that place of as an individual, and wanting to know. So people go out there and say, "Oh, I'm a truth seeker." Well, if you're already in agreement with this lie, how can you say you're a truth seeker? Doesn't make sense. So understand that people can say whatever they want, but I took the time. Okay, I took the time. This When I talk about this system of training, it is a original source system. Okay, I didn't. I'm not following Caesar Milan. Okay, I'm not following another trainer out there. Okay, this is the original source system. This comes from, from the relationship I had with my first police dog, and then asking those questions. But anyone can ask those questions. Understand that, this isn't some hidden knowledge thing here. This is a, lining things up part. Okay, so I want to make that very clear. So when I'm responding to all these comments out there, understand the mainstream dog training. Well, this is to me, this is like um, it's like you're responding to people who never asked those questions and have already made the decision to identify as such and such. They've signed a contract, they put up their videos, they've written their books, now, they're responding from a place of not doing any of that. And so when I say certain things about certain things, understand that there's these gaps and holes because they didn't go beyond appearances that way. They didn't put anything to the test. They didn't arrive at that place. So you know when I'm responding to all these comments, understand that a lot of these people they're not going to get it anyway. Okay, because that's the choice they made. Okay, so I just want to be clear that this is where I'm at. So even when I'm responding to all these, I talk personal attacks and the cheap shots, and because understand that's it too. Because if you're not going to go to that place to put anything I say to the test, you're not going to go there. Then you know how are you going to respond? You're going to respond this way. So just keep that kind of in your hip pocket, okay? As you see some of my responses on social media, because here's the thing is I take a mentoring approach. I will go the extra mile to help those who reach out. And I'm going to talk about this because this individual here is one of these people. He talks about taking one of my courses, okay, and then just kind of falling away from that, and then going over to Kevin Murdoch, which is we'll talk about it because it's like incredible, like to do that to begin with, but it's like but not even reach out. So you can't help someone that doesn't even reach out to say, "Hey, Dale, I got these are some questions I need help with." And so because it just doesn't make sense to me because if you're even if you own a certain business and you could have the best product in the world in that business. I mean, you could have like you know, a, a high percentage of people that are like love your product. Could be a restaurant, whatever. And, just you could have a bad meal. Okay. I mean, someone could walk in and because of whatever's going on, I mean, out of your control, you could have something happen where the wait service or whatever happened, that person was not happy. And, but as an owner, right, you always hope that, hey, I want to make this right. If you're really driven by, hey, that happened, but I'm the type of person, right? You're the type of person say, I want to know what that is so that I can make that right. I can go out of my way to offer them a free meal or whatever it is, right? But if someone doesn't reach out, if they just go on, say Google, and start leaving negative reviews, and even the negative reviews, you still have an opportunity to do that. I had one person on my Google reviews that they left a negative review saying about they called my phone number, right? And there was no they say about I didn't respond or whatever. I never even received the message. I was like, call me back. I mean, that's how like some people sometimes don't even give you the opportunity to make things right. And so, there's that. Understand, I'm the type of person that, but here's the other thing. When I talk about these courses, because this plays into this individual here. I never said anything in the past because, again, I talk about privacy. This person had taken, I knew that there was one or two people who took my course that were going over there, but I didn't say anything because I still, even though they actually didn't come out and say, hey, I took Dale's course. So I left that alone to respond this way directly to it because I still was like, I still respect people's privacy. They had another trainer out there, Hines, had released a person's private consults, okay, because he felt betrayed. I would never do that. Okay, that's just something I would never go there. I don't care how unhappy the person is. If something's meant to be private, it's private. Doesn't matter, in the end, I just would never do that. It's like your word should be what your word is. Now here's this person here, but now Ryan's come up and said, "Oh, I took Dale's course." Okay, great. I can respond to this, but I've alluded to it in the past, just without mentioning his name, but how I am about the courses because it did bother me. It bothered me in the sense that, and here's the issue I want to get into a little bit, so because I want to talk about this because it does bother me a little bit. or a lot of it, because I want people to be successful. But the courses I set up in terms of the pre-courses, okay, the introductory course and the advanced courses, okay, they're online courses prior to the actual, in-person dog trainer course here that I provide here for people, the 1 week course. Is those pre-courses, okay, are meant to dial you into the system. Okay, they're meant to give you some foundational, okay, method, some the foundation to basically, allow you to, once you come here for the actual on-site course, you're already dialed in in a pretty good way, so that the hands-on part, when we get into the actual, one-on-one in person, it just makes it so much easier because some of that has already been, taken care of. Okay. You've already gone through the 2 prior courses. Okay. To really get you dialed in. And I did that for a reason too, because I don't want people just showing up here in person and getting into this thing where there's, they feel like there's just, especially, and here's the point I make, especially as a trainer. Okay. I'm going to make the distinction here because I tell people this. If you're, um, if you're a already established dog trainer, okay, you've already signed that contract. You're already like, this is how I'm going. This is what I've, you know, this is how I'm going to do it. And then you're like looking around the dog training community, and I assume there's a lot of people doing that right now, saying this is a mess. Look what's going on here with this association, and this is all these controversies. And if you look at my flip in the scripts here, you say, but you're already a balanced trainer, you're already a force-free trainer, and you're like saying, I want to, man, there's something I'm missing here. There's a piece here. I talk about the relationship side of things, the social aspect. There's a piece here I'm missing. There's more to it. I know it goes beyond just appearances. There's a problem with appearances. There's a difference between a fake and a real picture. I talk about that. But if you're an established dog trainer, you'd be like, okay, what's my options here? So the course, okay, the introductory course, that's meant to shake you loose. Okay. You can't understand something. You can't build off of a lie. Okay. This whole idea of what training is in terms of learning based exercise, how that's applied, you have to push that to the side. It's a clean slate. Okay. You got to push that aside. But if you're not willing to do that, and this is what I'm talking about, this is the case here with this individual. If you're not willing to do that, because it doesn't mix. Okay. It doesn't mix. It's not some hybrid thing going on here. It doesn't align. You can't hold on to both. You can't bounce back and forth. Okay. There's a letting go part. Okay. If you're not willing to do that, okay, it's not going to work. And so, that's just a given. But prior to that, I would encourage anyone that's watching this video and you are thinking about, the courses, and you're thinking about, okay, what's the next step? The better, the better way is perhaps just do a FaceTime consult with me, and so you can get your questions resolved before you even undertake doing the course. Okay, but the courses are meant to prevent that type of thing. Because again, the coming to the actual dog trainer course and the cost of the course is still very reasonable. Okay, but still the pre-courses are even more reasonable, right? So therefore, it's meant to kind of prepare you. But if you're a dog trainer, it's like let it go. But if you're not going to do that, okay, that's the time to kind of reevaluate. Yeah, but here's the problem. Here with this Ryan is like, and this happened to a couple people, but here's the crazy thing. This is the thing that you try to make sense of things. Number one is that, because I'm going to go through his comments here. He never reached out. Okay, he never gave me the opportunity to clarify his questions or his concerns or anything as a trainer, because he's already an established trainer, like a balanced dog trainer, kind of quasi Cesar Millan trainer. But he didn't go in and say, "Oh, I'm going to reach out to Dale," because I would have took the time and invested the time and take a mentoring approach to answer his questions. Okay, to make it right. That's it. I would have helped him. He didn't afford me the opportunity to do that. Okay, so there's that. That's a big deal to me. Okay, so then he just went and he went over to Murdoch, and Murdoch, of course, I thought was exploited that situation, right? Because he took that, and that's what really bothered me when people want to know why it is I don't want to sit down with trainers like Murdoch. Murdoch went and took that situation with the course, right? Because I'm thinking at a whole different level here, right? I'm thinking, hey, why didn't this guy reach out? That's my thing, and I could help him, Murdaugh went and took that and said, "Oh, this proves that Dale's method doesn't work." And he went on seeing when I talk about trainers being dishonest, right? This is what I'm talking about. He went and exploited that, and Ryan allowed himself, right? He went because then I'm saying, why did he Ryan go over there of all people of all all method of going through? You look at the anti-dog trainers method, right? And you say, well, there's something seriously wrong anyway. But then to do that, so like, how do you respond to that? So I just want to clear the air here so people understand where I'm coming from. It's like you can't help those that don't want to help themselves, but again, to the system, it offers real hope, change, restoration for your dog. It offers the answers for those who go into it a certain way with a certain mindset and their motives aren't right. It's an offense, and so you can see all these people being offended. So you can't. So I just want to put it out there. That's just how it works. So but my goal with setting those courses up was to, right, to prevent that certain type of thing, to actually save people money in a way, because it's saying, okay, you have an interest, you want to move forward. These courses are going to prep you and prepare you at the same time so when you do show up for the 1 week intensive course, the on-site course, you're ready to go rather than get into it at that time, right? Because you imagine, right? You imagine someone showing up for the in-person course and that type of thing starts bottoming out and stuff. I don't want to, that's not fair for them. It's not fair for me, right? It's not the way to do it, right? So I've designed it that way. Okay. But even in saying that with Ryan, right, with that core, like that doesn't even jive with me. It's like saying, okay, you didn't reach out, you didn't. So and now you're getting into this whole trash talking and you want to start a battle through Murdaugh. I mean, this is so ridiculous. Okay. Just so we understand, this has nothing to do with dogs here. Okay. I put out specific information. This course, it is about critical thinking, this original source system for those who have the right motives, right? But you got to let it go. Okay. You sign that contract with, identify. So the people that are gonna, these are the ones that haven't done that. So you go into the system with, saying just with a clear mind to say, you know what, I'm just starting fresh. But, but given the system training, it's about the individual. Okay. It's your choice. So you choose to however you want to deal with that, but I just want to clear the air on that. So it bothered me. Okay, understand that. Yeah, when Murdaugh started that foolishness like that with using him and using another guy, and then it's like, okay, what are you trying to do here? I mean, I'll answer all the questions, but what's your point? Just like the cheap shots and the personal attacks, right? And just like, okay, well, didn't reach out, didn't try. So, because I help people all the time. So, but the dog training world, people put the word toxic. Okay, it's such a, but because it's a type of identity crisis, people have to understand here. So you got to let it go. If you're not willing to let it go, I can't help you. Okay, I want to help you, but I can't help you if you're not willing to do your part to try to make it right. Okay, just like any business. I mean, just think about that. I mean, you want to make it right, and making it right means answering the questions, going through everything. I'll go above and beyond to help people. I really, you see what's going on social media here, how I'm responding to some of these trainers, and these are established dog trainers who are just marketing this garbage, and they have a different motives involved here. Okay, look, all these controversies I talk about, I talk through that. So if you're the type of person that wants to move beyond appearances, that really wants to understand, you can contact me. I'm going to help you. I don't care if you're a balance trainer, force free trainer, whoever. So this situation is unique in the fact of how that's all played out, but it's out of my control. I mean, I want to help people, but if you're not willing to reach out and take the time to do that, how can you help someone like that? You can't. So here's Ryan again. This is on X. Okay, so this is the guy. All right, this is the guy going on, and so here he talks about. I read some of the off leash dogs jump on each other, and you're pointing out isn't a flaw. It's just normal dog behavior. They're testing each other and figuring out the status. So this goes into this whole Cesar Millan thing. I talk about using dogs as a third party. Watch my Joel Beckman video, or I go on to that. I talk about the importance of being established directly in and through the human, right? That interplay, okay? Lining up those core ingredients. If you start using dogs that way, you could have a certain picture that looks a certain way, but it doesn't line up to the human, the actual dog owner. Okay, a lot of dog trainers will use other dogs, but you've got to be really aware of that dynamic, okay? To not do it a certain way, establishing through, say, if your dog's reactive to other dogs, you watch my videos, how I'm doing it. I'm doing it through a sequence. It's a very specific way I'm doing it. So you're saying when dogs are equals or unsure about, they play like that. A confident will either calmly correct it or simply, yeah. So that's the whole Murdaugh way too, right? using other dogs. But again, you know, it's something I talk about. My courses, okay, go through that. The advanced course really gets into it. So just so you know, the introductory course, you know, it's meant to get you moving. Okay, it's providing certain. The advanced course I have has ton a ton of exclusive video content that's not, you haven't seen it on my channels or anything. So my advanced course, it's a ton of content. It really gets you prepared for the dog trainer course itself, but it gets into all this stuff. True leader isn't threatened by dog's common playfulness, getting guided by while keeping the hierarchy clear. And here's the thing, Ryan's put a lot of, you know, comments. He's all triggered here. I said before, it's easier for me to respond on video than just start typing and stuff. But some of it is like, you know, I said before, it's like gaps and holes anyway. It's just like, how do you respond to something? It's like, go and watch my videos. I mean, you know, that's all, the stuff's all there. Um, see here, it says Dale can't accept that there's more than one way to influence the state of mind of a dog. Okay, here's the thing. You know, influence and control can come into whatever approach it is. Okay. The question is it reconciled? Think about that. Is it reconciled in a intentional way? So one way that happens, okay, I talk about a intentional interaction based method with the integrity, how it aligns through the leash and through those interactions. That's how it's reconciled. Okay, so here's talking about, you know, more than one way. This comes to that question is in terms of, you know, more than one way to train a dog. Ask yourself the question: where's that statement even come from? You know, how did it even become something in the dog training? Well, because it's based on appearances within the framework of response. Okay, so there you have it. Where is the critical thinking? Instead of using one, fully understand instead of using one side. So even word behavior, right? Talk about that word doesn't even belong in the mix most times within the framework of response itself. It's misapplied. But see, these things you have to get into. Like I'm saying, I could be saying stuff here, and people say, "What is Dale even going on about?" If it matters to you, here's the thing, and I'll make this point too. People, think about what I'm saying here. A lot of these established dog trainers and their followers, they have all the time in the world to invest in this corrupt ideology. They have all the money, all the time, right? And then, you know, look at the mess. But they don't even have like time or energy to figure any of this out to actually, you know, invest in, you know, figuring out what the right way is, right? Because this plays into people's emotions, right? Telling people what they want to hear, right? Because a lie can provide comfort temporarily, right? Till it all bottoms out. But a lie will can make you feel good. Doesn't mean that, you know, it's good. Okay. It means that it can make you feel a certain way. A lie, if I'm lying to you, pumping you up, telling you what you want to hear, right? Oh, this is great, but it could be, you know, not good because it doesn't mean that you may need to change, right? You may need to change in certain areas of your life as a friend, right? But here's the thing: people will accept truth in relationship better, right? So, you know, it's hard if you're, and this is the problem here with a lot of people in the dog training community. If they're hearing what I'm saying, it's like, you know, it's not coming through relationship that way where they know me as a person and know that's why I'm talking through this stuff, know my character. You know, they're just, you know, they're filtering everything through a certain lens. They're saying, oh, I don't like what he's saying based on what I've come into agreement with. And so that's why I keep saying, well, your first stop before you even engage with me, perhaps, is to look around the dog training community world and look at the mess it's in. And then we can have a conversation, perhaps. But, you know, if you're just confronting me or trying to drill down on me, um, you know, good luck with that, right? Because, you know, I'm going to respond the way I'm going to respond, but you're not doing yourself any favors anyway. What are you trying to even accomplish? You're not going to move me. All right. I mean, I asked these questions years ago. You go back to my YouTube channel, you'll see I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again, all throughout. Okay. Um, how can Dale say I don't have critical thinking? I was open minded enough to buy his course in the past. So this is where he said, okay, he bought my course. That's great. But he never reached out, okay, to say, hey, I got some problems here. He's just like, critical thinking is what led me away from his bad methods. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense. led you away from me to Murdoch? Really? Okay. I mean, that's great. Okay. Here's the thing is we all have, the freedom, the personal choice to do whatever you want. That's your choice. But if you're going to say that, critical thinking led you away from me, well, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like saying, well, why'd you come to me in the first place? Right? Because you obviously had questions. You obviously weren't settled in your idea of things, right? But then, you had the opportunity to reach out to me so I could help you. You didn't do that. So how do you deal with that? And now he's aligned with Murdoch, and this is what happened. This whole war, right? Trying to come at me together, right? Well, what do you expect? Okay, that's on you. I mean, it's like your motives weren't right to begin with. Clearly, right? You went into it as a trainer, but didn't let it go. You gotta let it go. I say that. So now he wants to say bad methods. Okay, well I'm gonna talk through it all. Okay, what are you saying? Like show it. Like I'm gonna go through. That's what I've been doing. So um we'll we'll go there. That's okay. Dale says IQ doctrine needs a new name because there's no critical thinking. I was being cute with that. Okay. The second I use critical to challenge him with facts and real dog, he deletes the comments and blocks me. He knows that he doesn't want to talk about other comments, only half of a comment in his video. Listen, I'm going through right now. That's what I'm doing the videos. But I remove the foolishness, right? These trainers, in fact, the reason like he had one person leave a comment on my channel pumping him up, talking about masterclass and saying about, and it's just like the marketing. That's what it is. It's just like trying to gin up, trying to pat each other on the back. So I'm not going to allow my channel to be used as some marketing for these turned over dog trainers. That just ain't going to happen, right? I said this before. Like if you have a specific question and with good motives, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. But if you're just going to do, and again, this is the history here with these trainers, leave these crazy comments, and yeah, I'm just going to remove them. Actually, you are mistaken. I do watch your videos. I even paid for your. Here you go. It's paid for my course, so I watch your videos more than the average person. I need your. I read your book too, but then I use critical thinking. No, something's terribly wrong here. Okay, understand that. If you watch my videos and you look at his method of what he's still aligned with, it doesn't even make sense. It's not even the same thing, right? So he didn't let it go, right? He wasn't willing to take that next step, right? To actually, and not just that, but engage with and contact me to allow me to help him in that process. Then he never didn't do that. Okay, so now we're here. Right now, I'm gonna just say it the way it is, but I'm not kind of, it's not about cheap shots here. Or I'm just giving people the facts. Okay, because here's the thing: if he turned around tomorrow and reached out, I'll say this right now: if he turned out tomorrow and contacted me in private and said, "Dale, I'm sorry, I want to, listen, I'd help him." Okay, I'll just be clear about this. Anyone out there, I mean, say, "Dale, I'm sorry, I need some help here." I'd help Ryan out. That's my heart. Okay, that's just it. So I'm just responding to what he's saying here because I'm just being transparent with people. Say, if you don't give someone the opportunity to help you, how can you help them? Okay, that's the bottom line. They'll post a video criticizing my work, showing the dogs working off leash in a controlled setting, explaining the approach I use, instead of addressing what was actually selling, focused on hypothetical arguments and red herrings. While leaving, I would like to see Dale training entire pack dogs, let alone one dog, showing positive. So here he says about okay, here he says about he's watched all my videos, he's invested in my book, and he says, let alone one dog. Show him like, see, that's the contradiction. Okay, well, I show it all, and you would have seen it all, and so now you're saying I won. So it's like so obviously there's a problem here. Okay, with this individual. Um, so that covers about all of it here. I wanted to clarify this whole course issue so people understand what's happened here or what happens with people. It's like the courses are designed to basically shake the person loose in a good way, right? To establish, to get you dialed into the system so that it prepares you for for in-person training. And I make that very clear. But if you go into it with a certain mindset and with not good motives, then I can't help you with that. I want to, but I can't. And so because the system of training is not a balanced system. It's not a Doesn't approach as a learning-based exercise. It's a interaction-based approach, and there's a lot to it, but it offers hope. It offers a real picture of change for people who have the right motives, who are open-minded, who want to move forward, who want to go beyond appearances. But it's also can be an offense for those who don't, who are already have already signed the contract or don't want to change. They just want so you can't help with that. So there's no it's either or. It's like I said years ago. My whole thing was when I first started, it was like, hey, let the chips fall where they may. I want to know. Okay. I mean, you have to be the type of person who wants the truth, right? You want to know what's going on. So, but your default setting should be just look around the dog training community, ask yourself the question, is it getting better or is it getting worse? And why are these trainers, and he had Murdoch put a video saying he's not even interested in lining any of it up through all these controversies. I went on Miracle K9 and I went through the controversies. Okay. I had that uncomfortable conversation to say these are not just some random accidents or flukes. These are all pointing towards what I'm saying is the problem. And there's nothing hidden here. There's no hidden agenda. There's no hidden information. My system, everything can be put to the test as an individual. You can step back, ask the questions I asked years ago, and move on from there. So, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day.